Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday. People like to welcome you all to the show. Okay, that's funny, right? Had to set up the radio part, right? But 2023 is the fulfillment, right? Meaning that what you gathered, what you studied, up until the conception of America now is being fulfilled, i.e., whether it was wrong or whether it was right. The proof of the information is getting ready to reveal itself. Why do I say that? Because knowledge and God's knowledge has to show itself and has to be proven to show that it did come from God, right? How does it work? How has it worked throughout history? God sets up His commandments. He sets up His laws. He delivers His message. He gives His message to an individual to come teach people, and then they come and say, "Well, thus said this the Lord," right? And when the message is delivered, some people feel like, okay, well, the fulfillment of that message will happen either right when they heard the message the next day, but in a short amount of time, right? But it doesn't work like that because everything's a process. So time has to come, and bit by bit, process by process, brick by brick, then you start to see things come into play or to existence, right? Now you have those who are record keepers, and you have those who heard the message, believed in the message, and also spread the message, right? So when time goes forward, no one can say they hasn't heard the message, or they can't say, well, I forgot, or the message wasn't plain, it wasn't clear, I didn't understand it. No, it will be made plain, and throughout time, things will start revealing itself, and someone would say, well, wow, man, I heard so-and-so say that 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago, and now we're starting to see it, right? And that's really the basis of this conversation. July 4th, 1930, it was said that God appeared in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Now, once someone makes a statement like that, then you say, well, how do you know? So now there's a knowledge that hasn't been on the scene before until this one brings this knowledge forth. Then he prophesies. Then he say, well, this is going to happen. You had the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a book called Fall of America. Our Savior Has Arrived. Message to the Black Man. How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and Part 2. Right? Master Fard Muhammad comes with the supreme wisdom. From that, you have a understanding of the past, present, and the future, right? But it has to be done and delivered in a certain way, right? According to the time. So, Mr. Farrakhan, he comes out with a book called A Torchlight for America. So you had the Fall of America, you had a Torchlight for America. A lot of people were saying, well, if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said Fall of America, why Torchlight for America? Because there's always grace and there's mercy, even though it's been said. Then to prove that I've been taught by the one who's been taught by the God that came in person. Here go you a torchlight so you can avert what's coming if you heed it, right? So that ship has sailed. They didn't heed it. Now, Can they go back and heed and take the information in the torchlight for America and apply it for the future? No, that was for that time. This time, we go into the fulfillment, meaning everybody is standing on what they believe, on their God, right? Because it's stated that there be many gods, and there's a message. There's a message that God will deliver or has delivered to the people that they claim is their God, right? So now, who's the best knower other than God in his time? So now you had time. The teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which came from Master Farad Muhammad, those teachings are now being, I don't want to say tested, but put out front, right? Because if you notice, I don't care who you call upon or who you say is a great lecturer or who has a great podcast within the country community or who is speaking knowledge, you will hear them regurgitate the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words. Right? They'll say, well, the time is up, right? Or they'll say the time of the white man is up. Or they'll say the time of this current rule is up, right? Fall of America. Been said it. But you can't say, hey, the fall of America without someone coming to say, well, here's how you can save yourself. Because no one's that cruel to say, we're just going to let you fall. If we have a knowledge that can raise you up, then a righteous person would give you that knowledge because you are in control. You have the power to make the changes that the person who gives you knowledge says, okay, you need to do this, and the other in order to save yourself. Here you go. That way they can't come back and say, well, nobody told me, I didn't know, so you knew. Okay. Now, I heard Brother Panic today. He said that people need to solve their childhood dramas, right? Now, when Mr. Farrakhan came out with Dianetics, and that was a science to not just meaning that was a science to allow you or give you to change your childhood drama, because he knew a decade ago that this is a problem that needs to be solved. Because sometimes you can talk to a person and they can change, or sometimes the person need a type of intervention in order to heal their childhood wounds. So anything that's beneficial, because the goal is heal the childhood wounds. Okay, what's the techniques? What the methods out there that can accomplish this goal? Hey, Dianetics. Or what about who has done the process of Dianetics and did it work? Yeah, everybody that done it came out and now they healed themselves and now they're in a better position. But of course, now, those who don't want a new knowledge or a new world or a new way of thinking to come forth or to challenge the way of thinking that they entered into the world, of course they're going to say, well, this is bad. Don't do this, because nobody wants the competition or whatever. You know, they just want their sole rule, and they don't want nothing that they see coming into existence, because their job is to avert it. Okay, we're not going to let this end, right? Okay. But if it came from God, and if God appeared to the person of a man, it's the teachings, then it has to prove itself. So now, things up, it's steady, couldn't stop it. It's steady coming. It's steady moving. Now people are starting to take notice. They're not going to say, well, okay, they will. Not today, but trust me, they will say, okay, all right, okay, God came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. It's coming, believe me, because prior to the coming of Master Farad Muhammad, a certain knowledge, a certain attitude, a certain being didn't exist. Certain knowledges, certain perspectives on life, I could say, wasn't even thought of. So he introduced a new mindset into society, into the matrix, into the game, into the world, however you want to see it. Master Farad Muhammad introduced a mindset, right? And from that mindset, you get Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Mr. Farrakhan, Jeremiah X, Daddy Grace, some of the, I mean, come on, members of the Black Panthers coming out of that mind, right? And then the creation or things that were created from that mind, it was great. So 2023, the 7, the fulfillment. Whatever you've been working on, right? It's time to fulfill that in 2023 or perfect it, right? Now, somebody, right? If you all are into whoever you are out there, right? If you guys are into cryptocurrency, that's only because somewhere, someone had a thought. What if we can create money digitally? Years back, right? And then someone picked up on that thought and created it. Now, those who see benefit or see how it can service or suffice or help society in a good way, positive way, then perfect it. Someone will create a thought that will perfect it because it just didn't drop into society out of a vacuum. You see what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, if it's for the benefit and for the good, keep at it and don't be deterred. Keep doing what you're doing, right? Now, we coming to a time, we got 2 years. The reason why I say 2 years, I'm talking about 2025 is the completion. This is the fulfillment. And everything will be completed by then. Now, a lot of people are who they are based upon tradition or what their parents gave them. But sometimes you got to remember, though, some of the things that we follow today came up out of slavery. And it's just been passed down generation, right? Until someone steps in and say, hey, this was false. They did this not to help us, but to hurt us. So we need to put certain things down. We need to do business in a certain manner in order to be successful, right? That's intervention, right? Now, the difference between intervention and God coming in a person of Master Farad Muhammad, or God manifested himself in a being and intervening into our affairs, is different than some person coming that's intervening in a situation. Because the God that came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, his intervention changed the world. And that's the difference. And that's power. Now, there is a smaller power where you can change your block, you can change your community, you can change your street, you can change your household, right? But when you're capable, but when you get to the level of what your knowledge, your ideology comes and change the world, then You can put the God title on that person because no one else could have done it, or no one else has done it. That's the difference. And I don't care if you black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It don't matter. Pick up the teachings. Get Father of America, Message to the Black Man, How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and 2. Get those books, right? Get Our Savior Has Arrived. Get those books. Also get Consequences by Visco Muhammad. Get this book. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon.com. And also the books that I mentioned you can find them on the net, right? You need those books in your library so you can understand what's coming and what God in person said what was coming. That way you can read it for yourself and you can say, I believe this or I don't believe it. Or you can compare it to the times and what's actually taking place. And you can say, wow, he did say this back in 1930 or 1933, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. Wow. You can be abreast on what's coming so you can plan for yourself in your household. Now, another thing. 2023 is not the day of judgment, right? Meaning people judging other people or man judging man, right? That time is over, right? Simply because the fulfillment. We got people who have been working to introduce their way of life or their way of living into society. It has to come out in order for people to measure it to see if it's based on truth or not. Meaning, will it stand or will it fall? You have to let it all the way in so it can have something to be measured by. And if it lasts, it's of God. And if it falls, it's not of God. If it's a struggle and it doesn't come with ease and it's problems everywhere, and that means that it wasn't ordained. That's just something someone trying to force into and trying to make it right, trying to force a circle into a triangle peg. It's not going in there. I don't care how hard you try. It's just not happening. But still, they have the right to create it, to see, because that's also an example or an experiment for others. So we don't have the right to point the finger no more, right? Because they say you point one finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you, right? So we don't have the time to point. Those days are gone. We don't have time to judge. We don't have time to. Now, this part I don't know, but from my understanding, we don't have time to go and say, "Hey, let's lead this horse to water," because at this stage, the horse should have known, because everybody has heard the teachings. Everybody has heard the teaching of the one they say who God came in a person of. So, meaning you would give them a time if they haven't heard it, because those who believe had to do their works and spread it, right? Whether it's through the newspaper, whether it's through the mouth, whether it's through the podcast, whether it's through tapes, videos. Okay, it's out there, so you can't say you haven't heard it, right? Okay, you heard it. Now you got a choice, and then you got a free will. You can heed it, take it in heart, and act on it, or you can say, "Well, this is not for me," right? That's fine, right? You have that choice, because no one knows until that time comes to what's true is still standing, right? You might believe wholeheartedly in what you believe in, right? Until something until it's been proven that it failed. You're not getting no sustenance out of it. You're not gaining strength. You're not going nowhere. Matter of fact, it's reversed itself and it became a burden to you. That means it's not working. Right? All of that's coming out is what I'm saying. You're going to have a lot of truth is coming out. I mean, every day. Look at Santos, lying Santos. You know, he lied one day and the truth is coming because it's truth time. You can't get away from it, right? You can't hide from it, right? And you can't. So you have to be upfront and say, "This is what I believe in. This is what I'm doing. That's your truth, right?" You don't have to hide it and be like, because when you hide it, you make it a lie. I mean, you really don't believe in it, and now you feed lies to the public, right? But when you believe in what you're doing, then you come out boldly and you say it. This is the time where fearlessness conquers fear, right? There's no need for fear, especially within the black community. Although they put fear in us when we was babies, that was for a time. See, it's just a fulfillment. Now you don't. Meaning, negativity only has a time. It's not supposed to last forever. You get what I'm saying? So when that negativity time is up, only thing left is truth, which is fearlessness, where you're not afraid. Then you act upon that. You act upon that knowledge of fearlessness. You maneuver. You talk in a certain way. You walk in a certain way. You carry yourself in a certain way because you saying, "I am this. I'm not wishy-washy. I'm not shaky. I am this." Now, why do they say that the time is up? And they say the time is up for the white man. Let me explain this right. That's simply because when they was teaching the slaves, they put their mind into the slaves. And then they repressed the slaves for 400 years and didn't allow them to read or write. The only knowledge that they was operating from was the knowledge that the slave master gave the slave, right? But that knowledge only could go so far. That knowledge is up. Now the former slaves was interrupted when what? The God came in the person of Master Rod Hunter. He went to black people and gave them another knowledge. So the knowledge he gave knocked the knowledge of the slave master out of their brains. It totally pushed that out. And then that knowledge began to grow within the black community, right? So fearlessness knocked out fear. And so now the people are operating on the new knowledge, and the knowledge that the slave masters gave to the slaves is so weak, it's not strong enough to sustain the new knowledge that came from the God and person Master Muhammad, right? That's why you see, that's where it comes from. So when you see these podcasters and folks doing interviews and people standing up, and that's where it came from. Because the Million Man March was so successful, that's 1,000,000 times 3 times, let's see, 5 to, that's 1,000,000 times 20, that's 3,000,000 times 27 years, right? 3,000,000 times 27 years. You know how many minds and atoms done been cracked and brains done been exploded and generations done been taught off that knowledge and attitudes and characters that has been built from that knowledge in that time. So that means then that there's a new evolved being on the planet now. And the old gatekeepers, i.e., the old, and I am not bashing the church or the preachers. I'm just simply saying the old mindset that was given to black people that where they forced the preacher to teach their doctrine, slave turn other cheek, slave give your master his coat if he's cold. That type of knowledge is gone. It can't suffice in today's time, is what I'm saying. That type of knowledge and the ones who carry or who was the gatekeepers and passed on that knowledge from generation to generation, meaning that preacher passed that knowledge down to the next preacher that was in line, and that preacher taught that next generation of the family members from that first generation, and they went on for another generation that kept. It's finding to be, it can't sustain. They have to revive. You know what they got to do? They got to take the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and put it in a way to where it's speaking the language of their congregation, to where that congregation can understand. It's just because it's all about different languages. We are not going to speak one language, is what I'm saying. I hear brothers on their podcast, I hear them say certain things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, but they put it in a way to where the people they know can understand it, in their slang, in their hood, in their terms, and that's how the mission gets over. It's not gonna come in one language, you know. But you have the messenger, and you have the warner, who puts it out there. Then you grab it and you put it in that language, and you will attract those who understand that language. And this person's going to attract those who understand that language. This person's going to attract those who understand that language. You know, because we're not making men. You know, we rising up to the level of gods. Right? Now, what's up to the level of gods? Because people are so spooky. So you got to break that down. What is up to the level of gods, right? What's up to the level of gods is the assurity that know that you are who you are, and know that the God is within you, and you act accordingly, and you cause things into existence that will benefit you and your family. You are that. Then that makes you a creator. You're not looking to your left and to your right for somebody to create a plan for you, right? You create the plan, and then you say, hey, brother, you good at this skill. Well, help me, or what will it take for you to produce this for me, since that is your calling or that is your craft. Then you go over here, look, sister, you good at what you do. You know, you got a calling for this. I like what you do. What will it take for you to help me produce this? You know, what all does it detail? Because you putting your ideas and plans together, and you putting it out in the universe, and then you fishing, and then you get the rewards will come back to you. But it's all coming out of the mind. And so when you say the mind of God, you saying just a comfortable person who's doing something. You get what I'm saying? So make sure you stay on board and on key. This is Verbal Peak Radio. We will bring things back to you in time. Verbal Peak Radio. We out. What y'all got? Huh? Huh? I'm through. I just recorded some other cameras on. What y'all need? Nothing. They in here? No, they have some. Can we? So yeah, get your shoes. What you gonna do with these things? I mean, not right now though. recording my thing. All right, we out, y'all. Verbal Peak Radio. We had a quick pause in the lecture. But look, you all stay tuned. 2023 is coming. 2022 is out. Make sure y'all check out Verbal Peak Radio on the Spreaker app. Make sure y'all check out the soundtrack, and I'll tell you where all you can check that out at. But make sure you check out the Black's Journey, Peace to Chaos, which is on grindcity.biz. Hey, we just doing it. Clothing lines coming soon, 2023. It's time for the Verbal Pick-ites. The Verbal Pick-ites. It's time for us to roll, baby. Jip.